Hello, everybody. You are looking live at a wonderful setting. We're here at AHF Foundation. We appreciate the accommodation, and it's just been outstanding. And we're even more thrilled that we have him in the studio, which has become a rare occasion by my own doing, by mistake. So we got here the Reverend Dr. William Glover of Mount Hermon Ministries, who's also the president of the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance. The greater something, we'll get all that.
Greater community.
Leave it up to the good doctor. Welcome you back to Leap This Live.
Always a pleasure.
All right, go ahead and say that name for me.
The Greater Community Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance.
Every word in there means something because
Absolutely.
I've been around you long enough.
Absolutely.
Take each word and tell me why it's a part of that title.
Greater community because the Alliance wants to be as inclusive as possible. Congregations representing demographics whose interests we seek to serve are all over the county, so we wanted to be inclusive in the name. Interdenominational because there's a mix of Christian denominations in the Alliance, and then ministerial because all of the membership have to be lead senior pastors who also bring their congregations and their congregants into the Alliance.
I had the pleasure of being in the media sponsor and attending the ceremonial, I'll get a former name in a second, where people were sworn in and all that. What was that I attended at Pastor Leon's church, and it was just a beautiful setting?
That was the formal formation and installation service where we announced the organization to the community and also installed our officers, board members, and introduced member clergy and congregations to the community. And
we got to meet the leader, the president, who will be the first president of it. Do you, as president, is there a term limit? How does that work? Yes,
I am fortunate and blessed to serve as the first president of the organization, and my first term is a 3-year term period, and it's staggered the first term, and then after that each president will serve, an officer will serve for 2 years, but can be elected for a second 2-year term before they have to cycle out of the president's office.
What is the purpose of the organization?
The organization exists to represent the needs of marginalized communities and marginalized people. As we know, oftentimes those communities are neglected in terms of healthcare, educational service, public work services, and their voices aren't heard. And so we exist to make certain that we amplify the needs of those individuals, to represent them, advocate for them, and when necessary to organize and make certain that we show people power to make certain that those needs get addressed.
Very powerful organization. I can't wait to get farther down to this interview. As you just enunciated some of the purposes of it, one of the things you didn't say is political awareness, but that's probably buried within the structure of it, because I already know that you guys are certainly involved in political awareness and letting us know all about the different candidates and what they stand for. You guys have already done an outstanding job with that as we speak. Talk about political awareness as a component of it as well.
Okay, and I intentionally did not use the word political because we are clergy, and we approach it from a public policy perspective and us answering the prophetic call. When you read the scriptures, all of the Old Testament prophets and even the New Testament prophet Jesus engaged in public policy issues. They spoke on issues like housing. They spoke on issues like immigration. They spoke on issues like caring for the poor, oppression, justice, injustice. Those are all social policy issues that in modern times we associate with being political, but in essence they are having a prophetic voice and speaking truth to power and holding power accountable. That thread is throughout the biblical tradition, and we represent that. So I like to say that we are being prophetic and not political.
Okay. So while we're on that, I'm going to stay on that. Recently, you had a forum where you brought in the candidates for Ward 2,
yes.
The city of Fort Myers, who are running for office,
yes.
and you guys, the clergy,
yes.
and the audience, were able to ask them very, very critical questions, yes. about their ideology and moving forward with the community. I thought that was powerful.
Yes.
Talk about the genesis of that and what you expect the audience to take from that.
Well, part of our formation, we established multiple strategic goals. Social justice is one of them. Educational empowerment is the other. And with us entering the height of the political season, we determined that one of the best things we can do for our community is to provide forums where they can become educated about the issues that are at play in the election cycle, and also get to hear from those who are seeking to represent their interests. So it was designed to be both educational, but also to introduce them to the Ward 2 candidates who are vying for that open seat.
How would you determine the outcome? Was it successful?
I think it was amazing. I think the community turned out, Cornerstone Church, where we hosted it. Thank you, Pastor Overseer Gregory Fort. They did an amazing job hosting the event. Was at near capacity. The clergy panel that posed the questions, we come prepared and we put serious-minded questions. It was a controlled environment, very organized, very structured, and for the most part, the candidates came and answered the questions that were put before them. So the people got to hear from the candidates with some very serious, pointed questions to determine for themselves who would be the best representation for Ward 2.
Mm-hmm. One of the things when you watch the organization, the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, Greater Community at work, you realize that there's power in unity, units of power. I think last I heard it was about 16 churches involved. And just speak in general to that power and how important that is related to you guys.
Well, absolutely. One of the things we wanted to do was to change the narrative within our community that clergy and congregations do not work together. So to your point, 16 congregations plus the chaplaincy of Lee Health are all a part of this organization. And to your point, we are very much working together and have addressed multiple issues that will impact the lives of the people we serve over the course of the past 8 months. When we think of power, there's spiritual power. We're clergy people, so we believe in the power of God. We believe in spiritual power. But in the earth realm, there's two types of power that get things done. One is the power of money, lots of money. People with lots of money get things done. And then the other thing that gets things done in the earth realm is people power. Who control the people, who can organize, who can turn out the people. And so we recognize that we all draw a certain number of people to our pews every Sunday. And when we can organize that people power, our voice gets amplified and we get taken seriously, because politicians respect money and they respect organized people power. So we're very intentional about organizing and turning out our people. That's why at every event you've attended where the Ministerial Alliance has hosted, we've packed out the facilities we've been at, because we are intentional about turning out our people power, and it makes a difference.
Absolutely. The numbers, people respect numbers, and you got at the black church. The black church still reigns supreme in terms of getting people mobilized and getting to the people. It has a rich history of that, and it's certainly manifesting itself right here in Fort Myers, Dunbar area, in the city of Fort Myers. I made a statement, but I want you to speak to that.
Absolutely. I say this all the time. With the fraternities and sororities, the African American Church is the longest, most enduring institution in our community. And as the longest, most enduring institution in our community, when we organize that leadership, when we organize that people power, when we organize those resources, we are able to command attention, we're able to have influence, and we're able to shape public policy on the front end and not respond on the back end when decisions have already been made. And a case in point was our engagement, involvement with Lee Health as they've gone through this transformation process of transitioning from a nonprofit public hospital to a private nonprofit hospital. We're on the front end representing the interests of the people we serve to make certain that their interests are represented in the new articles of incorporation and with the formation of a legally binding covenant agreements that protect the interests of the marginalized and the poor.
Speak directly to the safety net.
So, Lee is going through a transition that many hospital systems are going through across the country. And what drives it is the need to remain competitive and economically viable. I recognized, and we, the Alliance, recognized that we weren't going to stop this change, but we could be on the front end of advocating for and making certain that the people who need the safety net, meaning those who are uninsured and cannot afford to pay, will still have access to service. People who are dependent on Medicare and Medicaid, who are underinsured, will still not be denied care. People who are dependent on the qualified community health centers and be treated because they are uninsured will still have access to those centers. And also that there would be some accountability in place to monitor, to make certain that Lee's living up to this commitment. And then lastly, to make certain that all the things that we put before them are legalized in a binding agreement. And so we were successful in advocating all of those things. They are written into the Articles of Incorporation, and they are being presented to the County Board of Commissioners even as we speak to be ratified. And once that is done, Lee is legally bound to continue to provide for the uninsured and the underinsured.
From all accounts that I've observed in this, it appears that Lee Health has been very cooperative in working with
Absolutely.
the Ministerial Alliance. Of course, I had the CEO here last month, Larry Antonucci, and I talked to him about that. So, and that is again respect for volume, power, unity,
Absolutely.
and working in a diplomatic way, would you
Yes.
say, to get things done to make our community a better place?
Absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned that. And I do need to commend Dr. Antonucci and the Lee Health Board and all of those who've represented Lee Health as they have engaged us in listening and also implementing our recommendations. One of the things we did was do a research based on best practices with other systems who have gone through this transition across the country. And once we learned what those best practices were that protected the interests of the marginalized, we put those best interests and challenged Lee to implement those into their covenant of agreement. And to their credit, they listened, they heard, they've met with us 4 or 5 times. They're sending a representative to our meeting coming up soon to update us on the process. So I want to commend them for not only showing up and listening, but hearing and implementing the recommendations that we put before them.
It's good that we have a community-based group who's keeping a watchful eye on these things, like these big major ground-changing events that take place. Oftentimes nobody's watching. Nobody knows what's going on. It's too complex. So it's great that the organization is really keeping up with that, and we know somebody's watching. Of course, Sleep is Live will keep the public informed. Now, about 3 years ago, dubbed you, I know this isn't about you, but I dubbed you the community's pastor. And one of the reasons that I dubbed you the community's pastor is because of your efforts outside of the community and keeping your eye on things. Sure, it's a group of people that's working with you, a lot of ministers and so on and so forth. But I want to commend you personally. I know you don't like all that, but for keeping the eye on the prize. And I liken that in the whole civil rights movement. Not you saying this, but I say this. I kind of see you in the vein of Dr. King in the sense of you a clergyman, but you still understand the plight of everybody. Can you speak to that?
Sure. When I think about, and you reference Dr. King, who obviously is an inspiration to me, and really any clergyman who wants to make a difference in the lives of people, especially people who have a history of being marginalized, Dr. King was a social prophet. And I'll keep using this prophetic language because when we read the scriptures and understand the ministry of the prophets, many people think the prophets, just looked at people, foretold the future, blessed and cursed people. But throughout scripture, prophets address social policy issues to the kings. They spoke truth to power. And at its core, that's what Dr. King did. I refer to my work in the area of social justice and public policy as a second calling. The first calling was to preach the gospel. This second calling was to understand a very important aspect of the gospel message is a social aspect to it, and that God is as concerned about the spiritual well-being, the social well-being of people as he is about the social well-being, because Paul says, I pray God for your whole spirit, soul, and body. So this is providing ministry to the entire person. Dr. King says it does us no good to preach the glories of heaven while ignoring the earthly hell that people have to go through. So I want to preach the glories of heaven, but also mitigate in the influence of this earthly hell.
We are blessed to have you in the community. Keep up the good work. I'm here for anything you need, okay?
I appreciate it very much, and you've always been responsive whenever we've reached out to you.
Thank you. The Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance Greater Community.
You got it.
It's always open to people who want to join.
I'm glad
Speak
you
to that, please.
Absolutely.
You got 16
we
churches
currently
now.
have 16 churches engaged, plus the chaplaincy of Lee Health. So that puts our numbers at 19, close to 20. And again, back to the original question, why greater community? We didn't go with the name, the Dunbar Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, because we didn't want to convey that membership is excluded to that geographical location. Because what we realized is there are people all across this county who the work we do benefits them. So protecting the safety net not only benefits African American and Hispanic people, it benefits poor whites. It benefits all
marginalized,
marginalized,
disenfranchised.
When we fight for housing, it don't just benefit African Americans. It benefits all who don't have access to affordable housing. So for clergy and congregations who serve those demographics, regardless of race, ethnicity, or Christian denomination, there is an open invitation to be a part of the Ministerial Alliance. We're not a club. We're seeking to grow because we recognize our numbers. That's our power. And the more numbers we have, the more people we can turn out, the more influential we will be.
Well, let me pontificate. If you are listening to this interview, watching us on television or listening to it on our radio show, your church is not a part of this. You need to be asking why not, okay? That's number one. That's me saying it, not necessarily
That's
you.
fine.
All right, number two is that Dunbar, you mentioned Dunbar. Dunbar is not the African American only
larger.
anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You move through Dunbar, you see every race,
Absolutely.
whites,
There's
blacks,
gentrification, absolutely.
yes. Spanish,
Yes.
everything.
Everything.
So that is a misnomer in its own
absolutely.
right. Even when I come to your church,
Absolutely.
I see all different denominations.
Absolutely.
However, we do know that it's the largest African American community in Southwest Florida. I said a lot there to say to you is what I just said about asking your church and all these types of things. They need to be a part of this. How are you guys? Are you guys reaching out? Or people know you exist, and it's up to them to reach to you?
Well, there are people who know we exist, and they do reach out. In fact, our next meeting, we have 2-3 clergy who have seen our work, and they're coming to the meeting to learn more. So that door is always open to clergy who want to be a part of what we're doing. But we also extend invitations to those who are not a part to come, learn, share. So we're constantly recruiting. What you said earlier, I think, is vitally important towards changing the narrative, and I really want this narrative to change. The narrative that churches in the community can't and don't work together is now emphatically a lie. When you have 16 congregations doing the kind of work that we do, making a difference in people's lives, churches are working together. So the question isn't churches not working together. If your church, if your pastor is not involved, the question should be, why aren't they working with churches who are working together? Because the door is open, we are welcoming, and we all are serving demographics that need the representation and services that we're providing.
Well, Pastor Glover, the Reverend Doctor, so glad that you were able to join us today. Looking forward to having you back in the future. keeping us informed. As you well know, I know you. If I tell you to bring the whole crew, you bring the whole crew.
Absolutely.
But I don't have enough microphones for the whole crew. There's a lot of y'all powerful ministers out there who work hard, and you can tell you got the best interest of the community at heart. Great job on Community Fund Day that we recently attended.
Thank you.
And Festival.
Yes.
Summarize that response from that event and tell people what that was before we let you go.
So we have an annual Community Fund Day that comprises of activities, services, access to healthcare providers, book bag giveaway, school supplies.
Ponies walking around.
Yeah, so it's a really, really, really big event. And this year we reimagined it because we wanted to add a more fun element to it and also emphasize the family aspect of it. We want the whole family to come out. So we introduced some different things, zones this year, a fun water zone where the kids got to play and splash around in water from the fire hose to the fire truck. Fun zone for kids, which has always been a part of it. But this year we added a petting zoo and pony rides, which the kids loved. For the adults, we had an entertainment zone that culminated, with a lip sync contest and also a R&B concert in the evening with the fabulous collaboration band. And we added food trucks this year because who does not love food truck food? And then, of course, we had the health zone featuring Premier Mobile, which did an outstanding job. And we're just so happy with the diversity of people that turned out, and the community really just overran our campus, and it was just a lovely thing to be a part of.
Live was proud to be the media sponsor for many years. I think that was like the 15th annual.
Yes.
And you guys keep making me proud.
Well, you make us proud, and anytime we have anything, you're the first one we look to help tell the story and amplify it. And you don't like for me to do this, but we appreciate your role and your service to Southwest Florida and beyond. Because the stories you tell, the people you give voice to, those stories need to be told, and it's very empowering, and we appreciate you for doing that, sir.
I accept that with humility, and I want you to say that my mission in life lines directly up with the Greater Community Ministerial Alliance. So it is a perfect marriage. I know we're talking about Mount Hermon in this particular moment, but it's all one big mixing pot. So it's a labor of love for
Absolutely.
me.
And I need to give a shout out to all of the clergy who are part of the Alliance. And you're absolutely right. What you witnessed with, what the community witnessed with the candidate forum, we have different committees that put on different things. When we did the symposium and the action with Lee Health, that was our social justice committee. The clergy that was seen on stage managing that forum, that was our education committee. We have a spiritual services committee.
I see.
We have different committees where different clergy step up, work together to put on different functions for the community. So we want everyone to stay alert. We're going to be announcing a voter registration drive. We're going to be announcing a Souls to the Poll drive, where we're going to coordinate with churches and nonprofits to get people out to the poll. So the Alliance has a lot of work coming up that people are going to see. We want to encourage them to listen and stay informed.
What's the best way? I know on Facebook you have a Facebook page. What's the best place if people want to keep up with what's going on with the ministry?
So as I said, the organization is still young. So at this point, we don't have our own Facebook page.
Or website.
I am the acting president, so they can feel free to reach out to me through Mount Hermon Ministries. Phone number 239-334-8075 or mounthermonchurch.org. Or official Mount Hermon Facebook, any of those, you can reach out, reference the Alliance, and we will be getting in touch with you.
And I encourage people to go to those places. You can watch that community forum with the Ward 2 candidates. I watched it there myself yesterday. It was outstanding. And you can also, I saw it, it's over there on Cornerstone's website.
Yeah. Cornerstone Church, Southwest Florida, their YouTube site. It's there. We filmed from there, but we also posted on mounthermonchurch.org.
Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure. Let me bump you out and let everybody there's no alcohol in this. I'm taking care. Yeah, Miami might have the oranges.
I got you.
But the Greater Community Ministerial Alliance has got the
juice.
All right. We'll see you.
Lee Pitts Live is a Lee Pitts Enterprise production.
Hello, everybody. This is Lee. I'm so glad that you watched that particular show. And if you enjoyed that show, we got other shows like that. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel. Watch Lee Pitts Live on demand anytime. And also hit us up on all our social media platforms. Just type in Lee Pitts Live, and there you go.